Good afternoon, everyone. I am Iya Haruna Ayuba, lecturer with the Department of Guidance and Counseling, Faculty of Education, Nasarawa State University, Kefi. For this semester, we'll be considering the course Introduction to Primary School Counseling, that is GCE323. Primary School Counseling has the following course outline. One is the introduction, which gives an overview of the course. Then we intend to be defining what primary school counseling means, and we'll also consider the basis for primary school counseling, the objectives of primary school counseling, the techniques appropriate for use in primary schools, theories of human growth and development, responsibilities of primary school counselors, and that is where we'll stop. So by way of introduction, primary school counseling is an aspect of school counseling. From the diagram you can see, it is a counseling program specifically for primary school pupils. And what this course entails is that within the primary school setting, we will be making reference to the pupils themselves, who are the learners. We'll also be looking at the school personnel, who are the staff in the school, from the principal to teaching staff to non-teaching staff and the rest. We'll be considering them. And then the counselor. This diagram puts the counselor in the middle. It is deliberate because of the role that the counselor is supposed to be playing. So we will be looking at the pupil, who is the learner or the primary school child or children, if we may put. Looking at the pupil, you will discover that within the school setting, all children do not have the same age. You have children of different age groups, in different classes, different gender, and the likes. All of them have their uniqueness. All of them have their needs. All of them have their different parents. They have different exposure and the rest. So we'll be looking at the primary school pupil. And who is this primary school pupil? I usually will want to look at the primary school setting and explain it in the light of the 21st century. Before now, we never had nursery schools within the primary setting. So when we say primary school, you know that you are talking about children from within classes 1 to 6, or as it used to be in the olden days before now. Recently, or the present day, we have, when we say primary school, we have other younger classes within the primary school, which are the nurseries. You have even those categories that fall within the play group. You have those who are just there for daycare, those ones that are less than 1 year, who are still infants, and they are within the school setting. So as a counselor, if you are organizing or you are targeting pupils in school, you have to make arrangement for all these different age groups, because they definitely will have need. One may wonder, how do you organize counseling for an infant? The infant at that stage, because it's too tender, is unable to talk and is at the mercy of his caregivers, who are the nannies and whoever is there to help the child. So what you will do as a counselor is to check how this infants are being taken care of, and and then profile ways that they could be helped better. So it is more of guidance for those who are taking care of them. For gender, between the male child and the female child, they have lots of differences. So you don't lump them together because they are children and you treat them the same way. There are certain things that a male child will favorably do compared to what the girl child will do. Each has its own uniqueness. So we look at every child in its uniqueness and we try to attend to them. So you have the class. Are they primary school pupils or they are nursery school pupils? If they are nursery school pupils, are they in nursery 1 or are they in playgroup? There are age-specific activities or counseling activities that the counselor can render that will assist these children in school. Uniqueness, differences, very important. Every child is uniquely different, and so do their needs as well. So it will not be proper for any counselor to lump these pupils together because you think they are pupils, they are in the same class, they are both females, all of them are females, or they have the same age. Then you want to treat them the same way. Their personalities are different, their exposures are different, so they are bound to behave differently. So in attending to them counseling wise, you also need to take those uniqueness into consideration so that every child is assisted appropriately. The counselor is an important personality within the school system in the primary school. So and what role the counselor is expected to play is that of the mediation. The counselor is expected to mediate. That is why from the diagram that you have on this page, you can see that the pupils are placed up there. They are our priority. That is, they are the reason why we are there to do counseling. And then in the middle you have the counselor. Then here at the bottom you have the school personnel. So the counselor in the middle, placing the counselor in the middle is a deliberate decision because he or she is supposed to render services to the pupils and is also supposed to render services to the school personnel, whether they are the school authority or the teachers or any other staff in the school. The counselor mediates, and so every counselor, especially student counselor, should bear that in mind and understand that you have an integral role to play within the school system, especially among pupils and whoever is there to attend to them. Then you have the school personnel. Who are the school personnel? As I was talking earlier, I had already mentioned persons in the school like the head teachers. In some schools, some public schools, they'll call them the headmasters and the headmistresses and the likes. You have the class teachers, the subject teachers, you have the cleaners, the gardeners. Everybody that is there within the school system has been employed to work within the school system is a school personnel. Now these people, while some of them interact directly with the child, some do not, but they take care of the environment to ensure that the child is comfortable to be there to learn. And so these people sometimes, in carrying out their activities or rendering their services, may do them well, but in some instances may do them in a way that may not be very good. And so the counselor is there to see what they are doing and to politely guide and provide reasons why things should be done differently or better. So these are the things we hope to be considering in this course. top on our agenda is the pupil. I move straight to what the meaning of school counselling is. The British Association, the British Association for Counselling and Psychotherapy defines school-based counselling as a professional activity delivered by qualified practitioners in schools. A professional activity delivered by professionals in schools. Counseling is not an activity or a service that anybody can just crash land into. It is a profession that whoever intends to practice must acquire training and adequate skills before he or she can go to render services. And so, since we are considering school, our clinic will be the school, and the pupils are our targets or our clients. Counselors offer distressed children and young people opportunity to talk about their difficulties within a relationship of agreed confidentiality. So within the school system, we do not assume that every child that is there is psychologically fit, or is emotionally balanced, or is physically okay to undertake academic activities or school tasks. As a result, the counselor is expected to be there so that any child who is concerned about anything or is going through any form of stress or distress or problems can freely access the counselor to relieve himself by explaining what the problem is. It is an opportunity for people to talk or speak out, for these school pupils to speak out what their concerns are to somebody who is ready to listen. And that person who is ready to listen is the counselor. Sometimes the teachers are there. Some teachers try to play this role by giving the students attention, listening to them, allowing them to talk. But sometimes when opportunity is not there for them to express themselves, then in their minds they are looking for who to talk with, and if the counselor is not there, then whatever problem that is bothering them lingers. We do not want that to happen. So any child can come up with any difficulty at all, but we want to emphasize that when counselors engage any pupil in counseling, that counseling relationship should be free of any form of ills. The counselor must ensure that this child who comes with a problem or who has come to present his problem leaves that place better off than he or she came. And it is a situation where you render services under an agreed confidentiality. And so it is our duty as counselors to ensure that our clients' interest is preserved, to ensure that whatever it is that is their difficulty, they have decided to come and talk with us, that we try to protect them, and not to distribute or make an announcement of what they have come to discuss with us. Sometimes adults are tempted to think that because their clients are pupils or primary school pupils or children, that as they come and they discuss their issues with them, that the next minute whoever they see, they start discussing the child. It is unethical for any counselor to do that. So to our students that are undergoing training, just beware that confidentiality is upheld during your counseling practice, whether you are dealing with adults outside the primary school setting or you are dealing with pupils. Children themselves are concerned about how much you are able to protect them. And that is why when they come to you with problems, sometimes they ask you, will you tell? What that suggests is that they want to be sure that what they are going to discuss with you, that you don't discuss with someone else. So let's be careful. Primary school counseling, what does it mean? I put it this way, that it is a healthy help relationship that is rendered in the interest of the pupils, to stakeholders and the pupils themselves. So sometimes the counseling service you are rendering in the interest of the child may not be to the child directly, but to stakeholders. And who are these stakeholders? They are teachers and other staff in the school. So you may render, even parents, so you may render a service to a teacher for the sake of a child. For instance, if you saw a teacher scolding a pupil, or a pupil in a play group, yes, most of their learning activity is subsumed in play or in play activities. But sometimes as they play, you also bring in some other things like learning of letters, little things like that are easy for them to handle for that age. And so if you ask them, for instance, to draw or to write letters, writing letter A, you don't expect a child in playgroup who is just learning to write and learning to hold his writing material well to give you a perfectly written letter A. So at that stage, so long as what the child writes looks like an A and it tells you that this is an A, you score the child correct. So where you do not know, or a teacher does not know this, and then you go ahead to tell the entire class, to tell the child shame, 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 that will be demoralizing on the child. So when you are, let's assume you are passing and you come across a scene like that, you may not enter the class directly to confront the teacher who did that, but because the wrong has been committed already, and you wait. When the teacher is through and comes out, you can have a one-on-one session with the teacher, explaining to the teacher how pupils at that level learn and how the teacher is supposed to assist them. That way, the teacher would have taken note of his errors and will ensure that they are not repeated next time. I also define primary school counseling as a process of helping pupils overcome social, psychological, educational challenges that can affect their future. So problems can surface in the life of a child from any angle. It could be social, like I've mentioned. It could be psychological if the child has been going through some emotional stress. These sources of problems can come from school, they can come from home. You never can tell. So once they are there, the child will face some challenges and the counselor is there to help. So the problems could come as social problems, they could come as psychological problems, they could come as educational problems surrounding his own learning. The counselor should know this, especially student counselors, that pupils can present their problems from any angle. So they should take note and broaden their scope so that they are able to attend to every need the best way they can as pupils present them. We may ask, what is the basis for primary school counseling? Because in this part of the world, the African setting, it's like we are still battling with accepting what counseling is all about. Even adults sometimes ask questions. What is this your course all about? So it's like People are yet, although the awareness is increasing, but some persons still ask big questions like, what is this course all about? Do I need to go to school for someone to advise me? Do I have to go and learn how to give advice? Counseling is not about advice. It is about helping an individual resolve his own problem. So we used to do it the crude way, giving advice as soon as problem is noticed, but we've gone past that level now. So there is a basis. In this part of the country also, people don't tend to look into the future to be proactive in their disposition. They wait until problem looms, then they want to prefer solutions to the problems that have occurred. Sometimes problems can come early in life, and if they are not detected, a child is likely to carry that problem throughout his lifetime, and that would have affected him a lot. So these are some of the reasons. Number one, for early detection of lifelong problems. We are asking, why should we even have primary school counseling? Why would we not wait until these pupils get to secondary school where they can communicate and understand themselves? We want to be able to detect problems, especially lifelong problems, early enough. If a child is going through a problem, it is important that that problem is detected, is discovered, is tackled as it is rendering its head before it goes and affects the child headlong. So, but this has not been our practice anyway. That some children, some adults can tell you, when I was a child, I had abusive relationships, I was defiled, and nobody knew about those experiences. 20 years down the line, 40 years after, they are coming on TV to say, when I was 8 years old, this happened to me. It's a story that nobody heard, and as adults, they are struggling to come out of it. Some may not live that long to be able to tell the story. Along the line, some of them commit suicide and they are no more. So such problems should not be allowed. If we have primary school counseling, we know that parents may not be all there all the time. Sometimes it's not deliberate, that parents are not looking out for areas of problems in the life of their children to try to attend to them. And that is why, as professionals, we know that this gap exists, and so the primary school counselor is there to be able to see, to be able to observe, and to be able to hint relevant stakeholders that this is what is happening in the life of this child, and this is what is likely to launch the child. These are the problems that the child may face in future, but if we are able to tackle this and solve it this way, then the child would be better off. So it is for early detection of problems that have long life-threatening situations. The second reason is in order to direct children for future benefits. As children, you may discover the 2 and 3 are similar. For children, you may discover that a child has some areas of strengths and is doing something very well, but sometimes we see them, let's say, playing drums. A child may be very good in playing drums, or is very good at playing balls, or he can aim at targets, and he does that with ease. That's an area of strength that, if he can be properly channeled as he goes through his primary education, he's assisted in his areas of strength, then the child will be better off in the future. But most times what happens is that We see a child doing good, we like the fact that he's doing good, and it stops there. We clap for them, it stops there. We express it, and it stops there. We do not have a deliberate plan of directing the child to in such a way that the strengths we are seeing in him now can be beneficial to him all through his life as he grows. The third reason why primary school counseling is important is to help identify hidden skills. There are children with talentedness, children that are gifted in some areas, but whilst in some children you will see that their areas of strength are pronounced, so for some other children it is hidden in the sense that you need to engage them to be able to see or know that these are their areas of strength. So quite early, a counselor can have an eye, because a counselor is an observer, can have an eye to be able to identify such children and even identify those skills in them that he or she is seeing that others may not be seeing. So if we are able to identify them quite early, then they will be assisted and they will be able to work on those skills and be very good at the skills that they have the talents in. The fourth reason is to be proactive in safeguarding children. We don't wait until a child falls into a problem or is surrounded by all kinds of challenges, then we try to look for solution to them. Primary school counseling is meant to help children and guide them in path that will help them to walk safely. For instance, if we teach young children the disadvantages of drug abuse quite early, then they will walk in that understanding and they are hardly going to be victims of drug abuse. I remember working with a child I had a child that was running temperature, and I just got from the first aid box at home, I got a medication and I said, take this, and the child said, I will not take it because you didn't call doctor. It sounds funny, but that child was working with understanding. Why? Because he has already been taught that he should not take drugs that are not prescribed by any medical personnel, knowing very well that I'm not a medical personnel, I'm a teacher. The child said, I will not take it, and I could not insist because the child was right. So being proactive is about getting to teach the children what they need to know at this tender age, so that as they are growing, if the negative one is introduced to them, they already know the right thing and they can stand their ground to say no to it. Alright, so we move to objectives of primary school counseling. The question is, when we do primary school counseling as counselors, what do we want to achieve? What are the goals we want to achieve for rendering counseling in primary schools? There are quite a number of them, but for the benefit of this class, I will take a few. I encourage my students to read as many books as you find on this topic and generate more points on the objectives of primary school counseling. But from what I have here, first is to help children understand themselves. You do primary school counseling, you guide them, you teach them, you explain to them. They come expressing themselves and you try to explain to them. I'll be talking this and be giving example as I go. A child can come, let's say a 3-year-old child can come and tell you that he may not say I have a problem, but you may just discover that the child has not gone to play with other children during break and is just alone and is checking whether somebody has seen that he or she is alone. If you see such a child and you call on the child or you beckon on the child to come and he comes and you say, what is the problem? You are likely to hear things like this. My friends refuse to play with me. Now, if the child tells you, my friends refused to play with me, the first thing the counselor is to do is not to say, go and call your friends for me and start scolding them. Why didn't you engage your friend in your play activity? Or you go and play together. It doesn't work that way. This same child has said to you, my friends refused to play with me, has a lot to say. So you need to engage the child. Why did they say they are not playing with you? They said that I pushed them. Okay, they said you pushed them. Is it true that you pushed them? Yes, I didn't know that I pushed them. So when you did not know that you pushed any of them, did you say sorry when you discovered, or when they told you? The person may say no. That is where the problem is. Because the child has done something wrong and was unable to apologize to the remaining team, and so the team decided to leave him out of the play activities. So when you explain to the child, you see, if you go to them and you tell them you are sorry, they will accept. Or next time you do something or somebody tells you is wrong and you say, and you apologize, you say, sorry, I'm sorry, I didn't know. Things like that, the person will realize that if you guide them like this, they will realize where they were wrong, and it will help them to build capacity for next time. Next time a similar thing comes up, they will be the first to speak out. They will be the first to apologize. In fact, with that same guidance, if they see it happen to another child, they'll be the first to say sorry. And they will grow with the understanding that sorry, there's power in apologizing. So it helps children to understand themselves. When you guide children, sometimes a child may not come to you, but you may pull them together as a group and educate them on these simple gestures, politeness, saying sorry, being kind. It helps them a great deal. The second objective is to encourage pupils academically. There are pupils who are very good, enthusiastic when it comes to learning. There are others that you have to push, like you have to force them to write, you have to force them, you are literally trying to force them. I don't want to use the word force, but like you put more energy to get them to do the academic tasks expected of them. They would not do assignments, they will not copy notes in class as others are copying, they may just be looking. So those kind of children you need to encourage. As a counselor, you try to encourage them academically. Part of the encouragement is also to give teachers the guide that when they give assignments to their pupils, they should endeavor to mark them. They should ask the pupils to submit their assignments so that they will mark them. When they collect, they should mark. When I was in primary school, I remember there was a style of marking, that type of marking that you mark good, but at the end of the good you draw a 1. It is good, quite okay, but sometimes the children are not even aware that that nature of good is different from the correct one. So they just see that it looks like, and all of them are happy that you marked their book. It is as they advance in class that they begin to understand that that good has a downturn. To the teacher, it means you tried, but not completely. Something is wrong with your presentation. The teacher knows that, and the teacher does that so that even if the child takes it home and parents see where there are mistakes and they see the good, they will know that the good was not a perfect one because of that downturn. So we encourage the children. So you don't put a complete wrong, especially at the tender age, or yes, like nursery 1, for instance, when you're marking their book, you told them to write an A, they wrote an A, and the A has curves. You mark it. You mark it and let it take the downturn. It means you got it quite okay, but not perfectly well. So that way, when they see that good, it encourages them to do more. But because they wrote the A and the A has some curves and the line is not straight, you decide to put an X, meaning wrong or fail. The child will be demoralized. It is not encouraging. So the school counselor can encourage the teachers or guide them on how to mark their pupils' books. Another objective is to build confidence in pupils. When children are guided and encouraged, when they engage in activities, school activities, when they are encouraged by some short remarks, giving them some thumbs up and letting them know they have done well, they have tried, it builds confidence in them. If they attempted to sweep or they attempted on their own to tidy the class up, oh, before I left this class it was dirty, there were papers all over, but who swept? We did. We gathered all the papers together. Oh, that was good. Clap for yourselves. It builds confidence in them. They feel good that they have done something good and you have commended them. So for a counselor, there are different areas of a child that you can look into and encourage a child. For some, they keep very good haircuts, the boys. For some girls, you will see them with very neat hairdo. Some are always coming with very clean and tidy uniforms. Some, you won't see traces of dirt. They know how to take care of their things. For others, you see that their books and writing materials are well taken care of, even as they are as children. So when you cite such things, when you see those kind of things that children do, and you tell them, oh, this is good, you know how to take care of your book, your uniform is always clean, it encourages them. It gives them confidence. They can come boldly anytime, anywhere. Another objective is to detect problems early and tackle them. When you see a problem in a child's life, in fact, sometimes a child can be in school and he has problem. The school may not have noticed, none of the teachers may have seen, but nobody is saying anything. The parents are aware and they think no other person is aware, so they allow the child in his problems. Sometimes, with the help of counselors, when such children are cited, especially in primary school, they are assisted. You assist them by linking up with whoever is responsible for the child. For instance, I heard a story of a child, a primary pupil, that was said to always come to school dirty. The hair was always dirty, and it's a girl child, like she always came to school without taking her bath. Her hair is always clumsy, her uniforms always unkempt, and the likes. And I kept wondering, has the school tried to reach out to the parents? Because definitely these days, except if it is public schools, most children who go to private schools have an adult dropping them. I'm not saying all, I said some, most. They have an adult dropping them, even if the child is coming to the school by himself and such problems are detected. You can write a short note and ask to see the parent or the guardian. Then an explanation. Oh, this is how we see your child coming to school and it's been consistently dirty, is always unkempt, comes to school unkempt, and it is not healthy. It doesn't give self-confidence. It makes the child to develop low self-esteem and all that. When you educate a guardian or a parent like this, they become deliberate, because this time they know that the school is aware that something is wrong with their child, so they tend to sit up. Another objective is to guard against fixation. There are certain problems some children go through at the early stage that if they are not attended to, they get fixated. Fixation is a concept that Sigmund Freud defined as getting too little of a particular developmental stage. Or somebody can go through a problem in life and he discovers that is unable to overcome or go past that, and then he just sees that along the line some other consequences are following. So take for instance, these days that pupils or infants are taken to school, taken and dropped at daycare in school. This is a generation where diapers is used and they drop them and there are nannies taking care of them. The parents go to work. Sometimes they return around 4 or 6, 5 depending on the arrangement to pick their infants. This infant that is dropped in school has some diapers, some clothes to change, some food, so that when there is need, the nanny will simply change for the child. Now, as the child is being changed diapers, the first time he comes with one from home, diapers are things like Pampers. Just for those students who might be wondering what diapers is, I can put it as Pampers. They wear Pampers for the child and they wear clothes for him. Let's say within the first 2 hours or 3 of being in the school, that child defecates and the nanny needs to change diapers or wash the child up. And after they have done that, what the nanny does again is to put another diapers. They fix another Pampers for the child and then the child carries it. So consistently from Mondays to Sundays, the child is on Pampers. Then he can get to a stage, so nobody tells him it's time to go and urinate. Nobody asks him, do you want to urinate? Nobody is asking him. Nobody is training him to use the toilet. Nobody is telling him, oh, do you want to defecate? Let me bring poop. Nothing. So the child feels like he wants to urinate and he starts urinating. Nobody is beating him because it has Pampers and it will be taken off when it is soaked. The tendency for that child to get fixated is for the child to get used to that Pampers and not even know that there is something like toilet or there is something like poo, or that he is not supposed to urinate on his body. Now he graduates from play class and he gets to nursery 1 and he is at that age that he is supposed to walk about without Pampers. but he's already used to urinating on his body into the pampers. This time around, they said he's in nursery 1, and so they have stopped using pampers for him. But because he has not been trained or conditioned not to urinate on his body, he will urinate on his uniform. Now, these are the kind of things that primary school counselors try to check. You check the daycare and see how things are done, and then you educate the nannies there and also educate the parents. For the nannies, yes, they will not, because that child is not the only one. They may not be able to handle that, or even if you suggest, they may not follow because there are many other children to take care of, and they can't afford to keep pampers off and let this child mess up the place. The parents comes to pick the child. You tell the child, you tell the parent, you have to educate the parent. Tell the parent you need to be deliberate about toilet training for your child, so that he doesn't get used to pampers, because he can grow even to a stage of being in secondary school and he's still urinating on his body. So educate the parent so that as they go home, they begin to train the child. Another objective is to encourage enthusiasm in children. When they engage in activities, they like to be encouraged, they like to be hailed, they like to be told they have done well. So when we encourage them and we tell teachers to also encourage them, then they will do more. When they are encouraged, they do more. If they are encouraged, they do more. They go ahead to even do beyond expectations. But when they do and they are scolded, then they will not do. They are not likely to attempt next time. A child, for instance, who takes initiative to sweep. I have seen this happen several times. School cleaners who go to work with their children. Sometimes when you watch them, you see that the woman has swept the classroom, but she has a toddler that is her child, and she kept him aside, and as she finished sweeping the room and gathering the dirt at the corner of the class and has gone to look for Parker, she dropped the broom right by the dirt she gathered. Before she comes back, that her toddler baby would have carried the broom and scattered the dirt. What is the child trying to do? The intention of that child is not to scatter the dirt. The intention of the child was simply to sweep like he saw his mommy sweeping. And so she was sweeping dirt, so he simply did the same. So when we beat the child for doing that, in that case, you may want to ask, so who is wrong? The mother or the child? Because she has finished sweeping and the child scattered everything. I want to say that the mother was wrong for dropping the broom there. Because she dropped the broom, the child picked it and scattered it. If she went to pick the Parker and she went with the broom, even if the child scatters that, it wouldn't have scattered so much. That is one. On the other hand, the initiative in the child to even pick the broom to sweep is a good one. So you will neither blame the mother nor the child, because he picked the broom and he did exactly what he saw his mom doing, just that we'll interpret it as a negative one. So children, as they are growing up, they like to socialize, they like to do what they see adults do, and that is how they learn. So it is important to encourage them. One of the objectives also is to encourage children in their areas of comparative advantage, their areas of strength, what they can do well. A child knows to do something very well. Oh, why don't you engage him in that area? A child is an organizer. knows how to take care of, arrange things, doesn't want to see things littered in the class. Okay, assign him a task. Another child, my children were in a school where they had all kinds of leadership roles and responsibilities in class, even as at primary 1. So you have a group of pupils, 2 or 3, that are the class nurses. Their responsibility in that class is to look out to make sure that any child who presents sick or who looks sick in the class, because the teacher will not always be there, that these are the team that will go and report to their teacher that a child in their class is not well. Why is it so? Because they would have looked at the children and they have seen their area of strength and pulled them together to serve as the class nurses. Another set of children's responsibility is that they are the ones to go and call teacher once it is time. You look at the class and you see that there is this particular child, even as at nursery school, that knows how to read time, and he has a wristwatch. Because he knows how to read time and he has a wristwatch, that is an area of strength that other children may not have. So you select that child to go. In fact, sometimes the teachers will say, once it is 10 o'clock, come and call me in the next class. An activity has been assigned, a responsibility has been assigned to that child, and he will do it very well. So once a counselor sees this, he should encourage teachers to be able to assign responsibilities according to children's areas of strength or comparative advantage. Consultation with parents is another objective of primary school counseling. Consultation with parents and the school. As a counselor, you get to the school, one of your tasks is to make sure that you are consulting, you are talking with the parents of the child if there is need, and you are also talking with the school authority if there is need. There is a problem, there may be a problem that the pupils are having, and the school authority is clueless as to how to help the pupils. The counselor is responsible for designing how that problem can be resolved. So that is what we call consultation. There are so many objectives when it comes to primary school counseling. These are just few, and I believe that our student counselors will mark this, because they go for practicum and they will be face to face with realities with students, whether in secondary school or primary school. You look at this page, you will see that the topic there is counseling techniques. Working with primary school pupils, there are different techniques that you can deploy to work with primary school pupils. You can see a picture. The first technique there is a play therapy. Children can present, like we said earlier, present with so many problems, different problems. Sometimes it is difficult to even access or get them to express themselves. When something is wrong with them, you will sure know that this child is not okay as a counselor. Other children will also see that something is wrong with this child. Teachers as well will say, what is wrong with this child today? We don't know. But as they're asking the child, he's unable to express himself. There are so many styles we can take or adopt to get the child to express himself. This first one is called play therapy. You can see a picture of a boy trying to play with blocks. Those are letters and those are building blocks, he's forming pyramids all alone. Sometimes when problems are bothering a child, or when a child is confronted with challenges, anything bothering his mind, children are unable to play. Play is like food, is like natural for children, but you find that there are times a child sees play and is not able to play. Then you know that there is a serious problem that is disturbing that child. So we use play therapy. Play therapy is simply about engaging the child in play activities, giving the child opportunity to play. Different types of play allow the child access to play activities. So building blocks is one of it. If you look at the next photo, you will see that that is an instructor or a teacher with many children sitting on the floor. So they may be doing plenty activities. You can have in one class, depending on the arrangement of the class. If it is a play environment, or like a classroom that is specifically for play activities, at every corner of the class you will see different types of play materials for the children. In one corner you can find all kinds of teddy bears. At another corner you will find all kinds of drums and musical instruments. Another corner you'll find all kinds of blocks, like letters for letters. You have all kinds of those type of building blocks they use for construction and all those. So you expose the child, you bring children to such an environment, the ones that look normal plus the one that you think something is wrong with. You bring them to such an environment so that they are not restricted to just one play activity. There are provisions for different play activities that children can choose which one they want to play. So you find some of them tending towards going to play with toys. Another set of people are going to play with musical instruments. Some are going to make all kinds of buildings and creating all kinds of structures with blocks. Some are forming letters. Some are trying to fix some puzzles. You have them. So when you watch them, or you can decide to group them for organization. This group, you'll be here in this place, play with these toys. In the next 2 minutes I move you to the next group. So they rotate like that. A child who has problems you will discover that most times they are unable to play. Or some, when they get to a to a play location, as others are playing, they will be looking at them angrily. You know that something is definitely wrong. Some will play with the toys, but they will be playing with the toys in a way that they will destroy them because they are angry. So they are looking for how to vent their anger by destroying what is available. So this play therapy is a very important technique that we use, because sometimes children are unable to speak using words, but they can use actions. You also engage children in activities, play activities such as drawings. You give them writing materials. Excuse me. You give them writing materials. You give them paper, you give them pencils, you give them colored pencils. You tell them to just draw anything. A child who is happy will have drawings. You can see on the picture I have here, you can see this is a drawing by children, and you can see all kinds. You can see adults, you can see one child playing ball, you can see someone here looking like like it's a child, like these are children scattered all over the place. In fact, some of the things I'm seeing on this diagram, this one looks like, I don't know, maybe a mother carrying a bag and with something on her hand. These things this child has drawn that look like some of them are not making meaning. When you call the owner of this drawing to interpret to you what he has drawn, you will be amazed at the interpretation. So I have personally seen children who will draw. Some will write. Those who know how to write will write and express themselves. If they are angry with mommy, they will go and write. They will say, mommy doesn't like me. Just brief like that. And sometimes they go to lie down, they put it under their pillow. They have communicated. So when children are angry, it's important you know what they are doing. Some will isolate themselves. The next thing you will see them writing. Or when they write and you try to privately check what they have written, you will see that they have expressed what was bothering them. So when you give children writing materials to write, some will write in words, expressing themselves, what has happened to them. Some will write that their father took them and they went and bought ice cream. That is what is in their mind. They can tell you the current thing that is still happening in their heads, in their mind. So giving children opportunity to draw is a technique that is used among children to find out what their problems are. It helps them to express themselves. And so when they draw and you call them, you say, okay, come, who is this? They will tell you, it's my mommy. And who is this? It's my daddy. And then who is this? It's me. So can you tell me what is happening here? They have drawn it, and before you know it, they will start expressing to you what has happened that you were looking for. Observation is a technique in counseling that is very important among children. And what does it mean to observe? Is to make sure that as a counselor that you don't lose sight of what the children are doing. You are able to make sure that you see them with your eyes. You can't be observing and your eyes are closed. You have to hear them. You listen to them, you see what they are doing, check what they are doing. It is a skill. There are people, adults, who will be looking at a child, but they are not observant. Their eyes are open, they are seeing the child, and the child is doing something that will help him. But they are just clueless, like nothing has happened, like they are not seeing the danger ahead. So we are not talking about such type of looks. We are talking about being observant. To be observant is to look at a child with an intention of understanding how a child behaves and why he does things the way he does, and what will result if the child continues in the line he is doing or he is going. I explain the concept of observation to my students, and I tell them that in observation is not only your eyes that are at work, but your ears as well. Listen to what children say. Listen to what children say, because they have a lot of information at their fingertips concerning their friends. And so you can get, so when you are in the midst of children, learn to listen. Confidentiality is a technique that is very important. And what that means is to protect a child, but beware of your limit of confidentiality. This concept, confidentiality, I've heard students erroneously define it as being confident. Confidentiality is not the same as being confident. Confidentiality is simply to protect a child's privacy, to make sure that whatever a child has discussed with you as a counselor is protected, and not that as soon as the child finishes talking, you start talking about him or her to anybody you choose. Children no matter how small they are concerned about being protected, and what they tell you, they want to be sure that you keep it to yourself. That notwithstanding, because they are children, because they are minors, because they are not up to the age that we will consider that they are adult to make any informed decision, whatever a child discusses with you, you are responsible. Know as a counselor that confidentiality has limits. There are times that you may not continue to keep silent over an issue that the child has mentioned. You will need to discuss it in order to find protection for the child. But in discussing it, you don't discuss it anywhere, anyhow. You choose to discuss it, for instance, with parents. Let me just paint this, give this example. If a child comes to you, you are a primary school counselor, and one of the pupils comes to you to say that he or she has had an adult that has been abusing him or her sexually. That is terrible, I must say. And so you as a counselor hearing this, it is expected that you know that this child is vulnerable, this child is already a victim, this child is a minor, and so being in the school environment he becomes the responsibility of the school authority, and you, the counselor, is one member of that authority, and it is within your reach to make sure that this child is well taken care of. When things like this happen, children find it difficult to disclose to their parents that this is what has been happening to me, and so they may choose to discuss with a counselor. When they do that, creativity is expected on the part of the counselor to make sure that while the child is protected on one hand, the parents get to know, because it is their own child, because they are responsible for him, because anything, the care of that child is on them. And so if you hide such information from them, not letting them know the risk that their child is already exposed to, then you as a counselor can be sued. Yes, because you had privileged information about this child, and it is to the detriment of the child, and you did not relate same to the school authority or the parents. You can be sued. So it is important for student counselors to know this, that you are supposed to be confidential, you are supposed to keep your client secret, but where you discover that the child or your client is at risk, you have to relate the information where necessary. Where you discover that the child is at the verge or is exposed to illnesses and diseases, you have to speak out. Where a child needs medical attention, you can't continue to keep that. Where a child is predisposed to harm of any kind at all, then you have to speak out. Very important. So please, as students, counselors, these are skills and many more that you may read on your own to add to your knowledge. We have been talking about primary school pupils since, and we have been talking about how we can step in as counselors to help these pupils. I started by talking about pupils being of different ages, different gender or sex, coming from different backgrounds and family upbringings. The next topic is about theories of human growth and development. human growth and development. I consider this topic very important because we are talking about children, and we need to know how children think as they grow. We also need to understand at each stage how children operate. If we do, because going with primary school counseling, you will be confused as a student counselor how to even help them. So to look at these theories of human growth and development, we are restricting our focus to the theories of Sigmund Freud, who developed stages of development, some stages of human development, and then the psychosocial theory by Erik Erikson. So for Sigmund Freud, which is the first one we'll be talking about, I consider this theory very important because it categorizes children according to their ages and the way they behave based on those ages. Sigmund Freud has these stages of human development. He has 5 of them. The first is the oral stage, which is spanning between the period of birth to 18 months. That is 1 year, 6 months. From the time a child is given birth to 18 months. Precisely 1 year, 6 months. Sigmund Freud called this stage oral stage. As I explain this, I want my students to be very attentive because it's like a summary of the primary school pupils, of the behaviors of the primary school pupils. Remember that I said the primary schools we have these days, especially for private schools, you have children who are being brought in for daycare. You have some of them that are, so for those daycare, they may not be up to 1 year, they may not be crawling, they are just infants, dependent, fully dependent. And then you have another category that you see them crawling, they are unable to walk, they are not talking, because they are less than 1 year. They fall under this category of oral stage, naturally, by nature. Forget that Sigmund Freud has this as one of the stages. By nature, children between ages 0 to 1 year do the following activities. You find that everything that gets to their hand goes to their mouth. That is why Sigmund Freud describes it as the oral stage. The attention is in the mouth. They pick, whether they are picking a scorpion from the floor, once their hand can grab it, it goes to their mouth. They are not able to crawl, they are lying down, they place their mouth on the bedspread and they begin to suck whatever is there. The energy is around the mouth. So everything they see goes to the mouth. I have seen some Chinese children, for instance, who will grab their toes and move it to their mouth. How they are able to do that? So everything goes to their mouth. They see shoe, it goes to the mouth. They see a pen, it goes to the mouth. They see chalk, it goes to the mouth. They see cow dung, it goes to the mouth. Everything they see goes to the mouth. Whether they are at home or they are in school. And as a primary school counselor, if you are in a school where there are pupils or infants between ages 0 to 18 months, although at 18 months when they are reaching 1 year, some of them would have started crawling and walking. But you will find those who are brought in for daycare, and they are there, and they have nannies. Where these small children are kept is supposed to be free of anything that can be harmful to them. Cleaning objects such as detergents, such as soap, such as Izal and the rest should not be within the reach of these children, because those products are harmful. Anything that gets to their hand will go to their mouth. So it is your responsibility as a counselor to check on them, or to check on the environment where they are kept, so that when you notice that there are such things that can cause harm to them, you will be able to guide their caregivers appropriately. The second stage is the anal stage, which begins from 18 months to 36. 18 months to 36 weeks. The anal stage. You remember when I was talking the other time, I made reference to children whose caregiver wrapped them with Pampers all the time, consistently on Pampers. The anal stage is a contraction and relaxation stage where you have the child controlling himself. He either knows to control himself when he wants to use the toilet, or when he feels like urinating or defecating. He either knows to do that, or he does not know how to do that. He just defecates freely, urinates freely. So everything at this stage, this is a function of what has happened at the first stage. The first stage is 0 to 18 months. And if, for instance, the child has been wrapped Pampers all through, then at this stage of 18 months to 36 months, he is used to it. Nobody beats him to say, or nobody taps him to say, why are you urinating on your body? Sit down. No. He does that freely. So when he is supposed to be a nursery 1 and they dress him up very well in the morning, before they get to the school, he would have urinated in the car on his uniform, and then the parents are frustrated. Sometimes if he doesn't do that in the car, as they get to the assembly ground in the school, they are standing, he has already urinated on his body. Why? Because he has gotten to a stage that anything goes. He either knows how to control his bowels, or he just does not know how to do that. So he urinates with ease, and then he defecates with ease. That can be problematic to their caregivers, and it can also be problematic to other pupils in that group. You can see why your guidance as a counselor at the earlier stage is very important. If you are able to guide when the child is between 0 and 18 months, at least the parents and the caregivers would have adjusted the way they have been handling the child before this stage, so that when he gets to this stage, he will be able to handle the stage without hitches. The phallic stage, according to Sigmund Freud, is the third stage, and at this stage the child is already 3 years, the age is 3 to 6 years. He describes it as a conflict stage. In fact, Sigmund Freud said he has 2 perspectives to this stage. He said there is what he calls the Electra complex, which is a situation where he thinks that young girls long for their fathers, and somehow they tend towards their fathers, and they do not want to have anything to do with their mothers. And then the Oedipus complex, which is the opposite of the electoral complex, where boys tend towards their mothers and see their fathers as rivals. So these two concepts at ages 3 to 6, sometimes children are already in school. You will see them, they are in nursery school, some are in nursery 1, some are in playgroup, some are already around at age 6, some are even in primary 1. So you will see these tendencies playing out. You will see that for some, because of that attachment of the girl child to her father at home, she can transfer it same to her male teachers in school, and the same applies to the boys. They may not like the female teachers because the boys might tend to like the female teachers more than or in place of their male teachers. So those kind of attitudes, the teachers may not know this, but the counselor should know, because they are being exposed to this theory. So sometimes it should be considered as normal, because you are working with understanding, you are being exposed to this theory, and this is how children at this stage think. Know that though this is a theory, that what we are saying does not cut across, that it is not everybody or every child that experiences this, but significant number of children at this stage, if they are girls, will tend towards their fathers and see their mothers more as rivals, and then boys will do same, tending towards their mothers, and then see their fathers as rivals. This attitude can be transferred even to school, where you see children tending either to female teachers or male teachers, depending on how it plays out in their minds. So it is a stage. It is a stage. Sometimes it is at this time that it becomes very critical, and the counselor has work to do, because when you have a child, a female child tending towards, because of this electoral complex, then that same attachment she has with her father at home, she brings it and transfers it to her teacher in school. Then some of these teachers take advantage of them. The counselor should be able to regulate, although it looks like it is normal, but the counselor should be able to see where danger is likely to happen, and be able to caution the children, and also caution the teachers involved, because sometimes children might be innocent in their disposition and then they become vulnerable. We do not want any child to come to school and be vulnerable or be at disadvantaged. So the next stage, which is stage 4, is the latency stage. This is a stage between 6 years and puberty, according to Sigmund Freud. And puberty, puberty comes to children differently. You have some will come early, some will start at 9 years old, some at 8, some at 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, like that. Some get to a stage of maturity very early. It is a stage of unconscious repression of earlier complexes. At this latency stage, ages 6 to 14, children, whether they are girls or they are boys, they are becoming aware. They are aware of themselves. They know that, okay, I'm a girl. They are beginning to develop. Their body parts are developing. The girls are becoming breasted. Some of them are beginning to grow pubic hairs, And so they grow, they are conscious at this stage that they are growing up. And because they are conscious, that electoral complex and Oedipus complex that made them to tend towards the fathers and the mothers earlier become suppressed, or it is repressed at this stage. It enters like a silent mood, because these children are now growing and are sensitive to what they are becoming, and so they are careful. In fact, they are getting breasted. For the girls, as they are getting breasted, they are careful. They wear their clothes, they check themselves so that they are sure that nobody is aware that their body is developing. At this stage, they become very careful. So although there are 5 stages, and at this stage, as they are becoming very careful, the tendency of them to show characteristics of reservation is there. So sometimes nothing is wrong with them, but it comes with that stage because of the development that is going on in their body, and they are careful. So nothing might be wrong with them. They may not want to be too close to people, especially adults. We should be aware of this. They may not want to come too close. They may not want to hug anybody. Some of them can be that careful. So the counselor should be aware of this and also be able to guide appropriately, because sometimes some adults are not aware that this disposition and characteristics come with age as the children are advancing. So they begin to say, when she was in nursery 1, she was a jovial person, but now she just sits quietly. It is the developmental stage. So be careful not to talk at a child as though he is wrong when everything is normal. I will not take stage number 5 because it is beyond the group that we are talking about. But stage number 5 is the genital stage, which is a stage that continues from puberty to adulthood. You can see that at this stage we are not talking about primary school pupils anymore. So I decided to list it because it is one of the stages that Sigmund Freud mentioned, but it is not relevant for us as we are talking about primary school pupils and primary school counseling, because the category of people that are clients that will fall under this are adults. However, there is this general concept of fixation that Sigmund Freud talked about that cuts across all the stages of development. How did he define it? He said it is a partial or complete halt in development with lingering desire for pleasure from some sources. A partial or complete halt, stagnation of a developmental process. So you find that at each stage of development that Sigmund Freud talked about, a child is likely to get fixated. Let's go back to the first stage, for instance, the oral stage, where a child is between birth and 18 months. Let's say a child is brought into daycare in a school. He's an orphan, and let's say he's just 3 or 2 months old or 3, and is at oral stage. At 2 months, the child is supposed to be feeding directly from his mother. He should have been on exclusive breastfeeding, but because these days we are talking about working class mothers, the mother may have dropped the child to go on her businesses and the child is in school. So where he cannot see his mother, this infant cannot see his mother to breastfeed, and he has options of feeding bottles. After they have given the child food through feeding bottle and the child has eaten, the next thing is for the child to use his thumb in the absence of his mommy to be sucking his thumb. Some will suck fingers, put 3 or even 4 fingers in their mouth and suck. Some will just find a way and be sucking their thumb. As they suck this thumb, you discover that children who have sucked their thumb or fingers, for some it was very difficult to get them to discontinue. They do that for a very long time, and as it is happening like that, you see some will even get throughout the primary school years, 6 years, they are still sucking their thumb. They get into JS1, they are still sucking their thumb. That is what is called fixation. They got too little of breastfeeding that they alternated with their own thumb, and as they are doing that, the nanny will not say no because the mother is not around, and that is the only thing that kept the child silent. Same applies. So a child can get fixated at any stage. He can get fixated at the oral stage and will find him sucking thumb. In fact, Sigmund Freud said that such children are the ones that are likely to go take drugs. They are the drug users, and the drug users these days. So I don't know how true that is, but that those are the tendencies. At the anal stage, the person can get fixated and can be bedwetting at secondary school, and some can bedwet even as adults. So, and then we have this phallic stage. Some can get fixated, liking their fathers, the girls, to the extent that they will even transfer it on every other uncle that comes around. And then when they get fixated, they find themselves vulnerable. So things like that, on and on. So fixation is a concept that Sigmund Freud is very important when you are discussing the theory of Sigmund Freud, especially the stages of human development. So what this theory has done is to help the counselor to understand how children at each age group can behave, or how their dispositions are. If you know this, you will be able to guide their teachers, you'll be able to guide their caregivers appropriately. The second theory is that of Erik Erikson's psychosocial theory, and this theory has 8 stages of human development, but we are not going to discuss all of them. We will only discuss the first 4, because those first 4 actually capture where the age group that we are talking about. We have the first stage is that of trust versus mistrust, a stage where Eric calls infancy stage. It is a stage between 0 and 1 year. Trust versus mistrust. You can see that these stages, the span as they are categorized are a little similar to those ones of Sigmund Freud, but the focus is different. So here Erik Erikson is talking about the fact that from 0 to age 1, that children, you can get to work with children in a way that they can develop trust in you, or they can decide not to trust you at all. I know if I give this example, you people will understand very well that children from infancy to 1 year, when you watch them, when they fix their gaze on an adult, they will look for a long time. You wonder what they are looking at. Even when their mothers carry them and they are breastfeeding, they fix their eyes on the parents, on the mother. Why? Because a lot of things go on in their minds. They are checking to see if they can trust you or they cannot trust you. At this stage, 0 to 1 year, you will find, like I said earlier, those who are in daycare, you will find those who are toddlers, you will find them, those who are crawling. Some children walk at 8 months, and that's why I'm calling them toddlers, even at this stage, at the infancy stage. Trust can be built at this level. A child can come to you as they look at you in the eye. Their minds tell them. You have seen children who look at adults, and after a short while you see them burst into crying, and you are wondering what happened. They looked at the eyes and they see that they cannot trust that person, so they cry. They are not comfortable, so they cry. But then they look at some other adults and you see them smiling. Their minds tell them as they looked, they were comfortable to the extent that they are able to smile. 0 to 1 year, you find this category of children in school. They are in nursery. They may be in playgroup. Sometimes at home, parents tend to tell them lies. As they are going out, they say, "Mommy, I want to follow you." They say, "No, go back. I'll buy sweet for you." You have promised them. They didn't ask you to promise them, but you've promised them. And so when you are coming back, you must buy the sweet, because it was all your initiative to say, "I'll buy for you." When you say that at first, they believe you 100%. So when you are coming back home, as soon as they have signs that you are coming back home, they start feeling very excited. They run to come and hug you. Why? Because you had a promise for them. And as they are seeing you, they will not even remember to greet. They will say, "Did you buy the sweets?" If you say yes, their excitement is. But they will get very excited if you say yes and if you give them the sweet. If you say no, their morale is dampened. And so sometimes parents do this without realizing that they are creating a negative attitude in their children. And unfortunately, even in school, you see teachers do the same thing. They say, "If you know this answer, I will give you 5 naira." The child struggles and he says the answer. Then he says, "Okay, it's not on this one I wanted to give the 5 naira. It's on the other question." They won't trust you. At this early stage of infancy, as infants as they are, children are innocent enough to trust you. But if you give them reasons to doubt you, if you give them reasons not to trust you, they will not trust you. And once they develop that trust in you, they can live with it for the rest of their lives, and it can affect and shape the way they also talk to other people. They will not see themselves faking responses or telling lies on things they know that they will not do. They will be sincere people. So this stage is a delicate one, and whether whether parents or teachers, the counselor has responsibility to make sure he guides them appropriately so that children grow with a healthy mentality. The second stage is the stage of autonomy versus shame and doubt. It's a stage because at this stage, these children are toddlers. It is a stage between ages 2 to 3. But if we may ask, we will question this. We will question Erik Erikson small. Look at it. The first stage is 0 to 1 year. Then the second stage should be from 1 year to 3 years. But he skipped. Where is the space between 1 and 2? Somehow it is missing. So let me draw this, that it is hardly possible for you to be able to draw a clean line between one developmental stage and the other, because one isn't, you will discover that they are interwoven. So to have a clear-cut line to tell you this is where infancy stage stops and then this starts from is difficult. So just know, according to Erik Erikson, the autonomy stage versus shame and doubt is the stage between ages 2 to 3 years. At this stage, children are encouraged to gain control over motor abilities. You see them going here and there, they run, they play ball, they can clap, they do many activities. They are exploring the environment and feeling in charge. At this stage, children who are given the freedom to explore the environment, to engage in these motor activities and do activities as they like, they have the autonomy to do so. If you allow them to engage in activities, these children will grow up with a sense of authority. They will feel that yes, they are able to do this and they are achieving it. But if you deny them the opportunity of doing little things, running around, wearing their own clothes by themselves, doing things, they will always be in doubt. In fact, they will always be scared to try. They will not find control. So when they start anything small, you'll see that they will not be able to compete with those of their age group. So children, you can't separate play from children. And at this stage, 2 to 3 years, you find them in school playground. All of them will be there, plus the ones that are 6 years and the ones that are 10 years, they will be at the same playground. But children know how to sort themselves. You will hardly see a 2-year-old child in the group of 10-year-old pupils that he has gone there so that they will play together. In fact, when they see him, they will say, no, go to your class, go to your class. Why? Because he is too young for them. The kind of play they want to play, the child will not be able to do. He will be falling all the time. So he has a group that where he can belong, and they will do their own play activities, and they can do that neatly and find the joy of accomplishment that yes, they ran around, they carried their bag. You see them when they get to school. For some of these children that are very clever, they try to gain autonomy when their parents drop them in school and they say, let me carry your bag. Their lunch box, they will say no, they will carry by themselves. You see them, right hand they are carrying lunch box, left hand they are carrying another bag. They are dragging the thing. They don't know how to carry it though. The bag is dragging on the floor, but they insist they want to carry. What is that? Autonomy. So if they do it again and again, they become masters of that and they do it very well. You allow them, they can go anywhere and come back because they have been doing it. But when you don't give them the free hand to do so, they will always not know how to do that. So in school environment, as they do that at home, we encourage, it is for the counselor to encourage parents and teachers alike to help the parents to let them know that there is benefit of letting their children do things by themselves. Because if they let them do things by themselves, they'll be able to master their environment, they will have autonomy, they will feel free to do things. But if they want to do things for their children all the time, then when opportunity comes, demanding a child to do certain things, the child will be ashamed because he will not know how to do it. Initiative versus guilt stage, which is a preschool stage according to Sigmund Freud, according to Erik Erikson. This is stage between ages 4 to 6 years old. He said pupils at this level learn to take initiative without feeling guilt. So encouraging initiative in children and helping them to try out their ideas is very important. So two things can happen to a child. Is either they are able to take initiative or they are not able to take initiative. When they are able to take initiative, they feel very confident. But if they are not able to take initiative, they feel guilty because it means that they are not achieving. So children can take initiative from what they see you do. They can take initiative. For instance, at home, they wake up in the morning. There was this drama that the students of demonstration, pupils in demonstration, nursery and primary school, presented during one of their graduation ceremonies, where they had some boys and some girls. Sorry that they presented it that way. It was some boys and some girls, and they placed them, and they were wearing their inner wears. They had their boxers on, they had their vests on, and their school uniforms, their school shoes, socks, school bag, lunch bag, whatever. Everything they had for school was kept before them, and there was a chair and there was a table. So those things were on the table, and they just told them, they said, they blew whistle, Piam, let them do whatever they wanted to do. And before we knew it, the girls were dressing themselves up. They were taking initiative, wore socks, wore uniform, got dressed, carried their school bag and everything, and started moving. Interestingly, on the other side, one of the boys was just sitting down and looking. As that lady was dressing up, he would turn and look at her. And as he was even looking at her, he couldn't tell himself, let me do as she was doing. He was just sitting. What that suggested was that this child was not used to taking initiative. Everything was done for him by his parents or guardian. And so even when he needed to do things for himself, he sat down, he was waiting, because his mother or whoever used to dress him up has to come before it will be done. Children don't learn like that. Children grow up taking initiative by themselves. So when you encourage them, when you give them some encouragers, you've done this for yourself, by yourself, that's very good. Before they are in school, it is time for break, they went and washed their hands without you telling them to wash. They have done good. That's an initiative. And they come back, they sit down, they open their lunch box, they eat their food. That is beautiful. But when the bell goes and then the children are sitting down, they don't even know the interpretation of the bell they've rang, and they are waiting for the teacher to come and tell them, go and wash your hands outside and come. It's not good. It is better if a counselor notices that, then the counselor should guide the instructor, their caregiver, and let them be told that when you hear bell as like this, it means you should go and wash your hand and come and sit down and eat your food. When you finish, go and wash your hands. Do that. When they are properly guided like this, children will live with it, and they will be taking initiative, and they will be happy they are taking initiative. They will be confident when they are taking initiative. But if they are not guided to do so, they will be full of guilt. At age 4 to 6, a child should be able to take initiative. A child should be able to come back home and say, my uniform is dirty, and is washing it. A child should be able to say, my button is bad, I need my parents to fix it. A child should be able to say, our teacher said we should copy note, and I'm copying my note. Taking initiative all by themselves. A child should be able to wash his hands. A child should be able to ensure that everything about him is okay. Now, if a child is growing like this, then he is growing well. He can always take initiative in future. He's already growing and growing in the positive direction. But where everything has to be done to the child, and a counselor observes so, then the counselor can come in with some guidance to be able to help the caregivers, and also to be able to help the teachers and the school as well. Stage number 4 is the stage of industry versus a inferiority complex. Children need to be purposeful or in creating, engaging themselves in activities. So meaningful activities that will help them. Children like to engage in them. Development of competencies and skills that a child can come up with when he does things by himself helps the child to be able to feel satisfied in his mind and in his heart that yes, he has done something good. So when children are able to develop some competencies and some skills, they become satisfied. But where they are not competent or they cannot show competence in certain areas or in certain things, they feel like they are failures, and so it makes them to feel inferior even among their own mates. So it is important that if you look at these stages very well, you will see that one stage leads to the other. A child who has been taking initiative at the earlier stage will not find industry or engaging in purposeful or meaningful activities as a problem, because he has all the while been encouraged to take initiative. So even at this stage, he can find meaningful activities to engage himself, and he can engage in activities and show competence and skills in those activities that he engages himself. The one that has always been waiting for things to be done for him will feel inferior at this stage. Why? Because the person will have no competence to show. And it is said that what we do every day, we become masters of that thing. But what we do not do, anytime we come to start, we are starting it as learners. And so, knowing this, that one stage leads to the other in Eric Erickson's psychosocial theory, should help the counselor to be able to guide appropriately, because a child of 7 to 12 years will definitely not feel good when everybody is standing up and saying, I know how to spell this. Everything other children know how to spell, only one child doesn't know how to spell it. The child will feel inferior, because at the stage they were learning those things, this other child was lazy. Now competence is expected, skills are displayed, but he or she has no skills to display. It is important that we know that learning is also chronological. These stages are chronological, and each stage has a task to achieve. So if a child misses the positive task or obligation that is expected of him, the negative one is bound to surface. It is not our intention or the intention of any counselor that a child will grow negatively or have any of these negative effects like mistrust, is growing without trust, is growing up and scared of adults, is growing up and he cannot trust anybody. The child is growing, is advancing in age, but he is full of doubt and is ashamed to do things. He is full of guilt because he cannot take initiative, and other children are laughing at him or her. He feels inferior because he has no competence to display, and things like that. So it is unhealthy for a child to find himself at the other side of the divide when he has every opportunity to show these virtues and be better off, come up with skills. So because we said it is unhealthy, in fact children themselves don't feel good when they find themselves at the other side, the negative side, and that is why counselors should do everything to ensure that this knowledge of that we are learning from these theories that they are properly channeled. While you are in this class, the teachers in primary school are not in this class with you. So what you are learning, they did not learn, or they may not have learned. The knowledge you have, they do not have. And so you will be there as an expert, as a counselor, a primary school counselor. You are there as an expert because of your exposure. And so you should be able to guide them, because if you lag in one, it is likely to affect the child in subsequent years. So stages 5 to 8, we will not discuss the stages because the stages are not talking about primary school pupils anymore. At this stage 5 talks about identity versus role confusion, and adolescents are the ones in that group. He classifies them as from ages 13 to 19. And then intimacy versus isolation is this one's young adults of ages 20 to 34. Generativity versus stagnation, this is adulthood between ages 35 to 65 years. And then ego integrity versus despair, this is for people ages 65 years and above. So because this category from stages 5 to 8 are beyond the level of pupils we are talking about, or our pupils may not fall in this category, I will not discuss them. Deliberately, I will not discuss them so that none of you gets confused. I will not be asking you to talk about stages, Erik Erikson's stages of development that you think are suitable for primary school pupils, and you will go and be discussing generativity and stagnation. We didn't get there. We are not discussing stages 5 to 8. So I hope that you have listened carefully, and you also have made meaning out of all we have discussed. We are gradually coming to the end of the lecture, but this point is about responsibilities of primary school counselors. By the side, you will see a picture of pupils. None of these pupils is in primary school, but I can guess very well that they are nursery school pupils. This one looks like will be like a nursery 1 pupil, this boy, this lady, but this first three here, these pupils, as you can see them, they are obviously pupils in playgroup or nursery 1 highest. So we have responsibility. I told you earlier that we are working with pupils of different age group, and as you can see in that photo, each of them is doing what they want to do, but they are in the same school. So what are your responsibilities as a counselor? It's important that our student counselors mark these points very well, because they will need them. You get to school first. Some of the part of the dilemma that some students student counselors have is not knowing where to even start, because they are not sure what their responsibilities are. So the first responsibility here on this note is to help children resolve their problems and concerns. You are there in a school or in a primary school to render counseling services, so that, because your target are these primary school pupils, whether they are nursery, primary, I'm calling them primary school pupils, but you know by now that they are a combination of those ones in playgroup, those ones in nursery school, even those at daycare. You want to help these children to be able to resolve their own problems and concerns. They can come, it might be a simple problem, but if a child tells you it's bothering him, then it is. So don't look down on any problem a child brings. They can bring any problem at all, from home from anywhere. They can tell you, I don't like the food my parents are giving me, and things like that. Like a friend told us about his child. He said she wasn't eating, and they were wondering why she wasn't eating. So they took her to a doctor, and the doctor said, okay, mommy and daddy, can you just stay out and leave me with your daughter? And so when the consultant engaged her, the pediatrician engaged the pupil, he said, your mommy and daddy said you don't eat food. She said, I don't like the food they cook. So he said, what do they cook? And she said, they cook tuwo, and she doesn't like tuwo. What do you like? She likes rice, she likes, and there was no big issue, but they may not have given her the opportunity to express herself, so it was a problem to her. So the children can have problems you call little, but they are a problem to them. You need to find a way of linking them up, especially to their caregivers, to their parents and their guardians, so that they can be helped. The second responsibility is for the counselor to mediate between the pupil, staff, and parents. Mediate between pupils, staff, and parents. You remember the first diagram we had when I was introducing the course? The counselor was in the middle, and I said the counselor is a mediator. You stand in between the parents, the pupil, the parents, the school, the school and the pupil. You are in between these people, and all you are trying to do is to help the child. You will get where you need to educate the parents so that the child is helped. You go ahead and do so. Where you need to educate the school, the staff, in the interest of the child, you go ahead and do so. In doing that, you need to be very creative, because if you don't know how to package your information, you might put the child in trouble, but that is not what is expected of you. Responsibility number 3 is to be able to listen and pay attention to pupils' academic, social, and emotional problems. Pay attention. Be very observant to note what a child's academic problem is. If a child doesn't copy note, there are children who go to school and they tell you, like I had a pupil so many years back when I was teaching in a nursery school, and I wrote on the board and they were supposed to copy. Every other child was copying, but this boy sat, and I won't call his name, and I asked, why are you not writing? And he said to me, Auntie, I cannot write. So he brought his book to my table for me to copy for him. But as a teacher, we don't copy for our pupils. They are there to learn, so we encourage them to copy. So I made him to stand there in front, put his book on my table, and to be copying. So that was the way I encouraged that child to write. For some, their problem might be speech. So not all children know to speak clearly at an early stage. Teachers should know this. Counselors should also know this. So they have a way they pronounce their own words. Like a pupil saw another pupil and was trying to greet. So he said, this one that initiated the talk is older than the one he was greeting. He saw a toddler, so he said, how are you? Meaning, how are you? And I was close by, so I knew that I kept hearing, how are you? How are you? And nobody was answering that pupil. Then I turned and I discovered, he was talking to another pupil that a mother was backing, and I knew that he meant, how are you? So that is how they talk. So when they talk, you don't expect, as a counselor, you should know how pupils talk. And so because at this stage their exam will be oral, so when they come and they talk like that, you don't condemn them, you don't score them wrong because the child said, "How are you?" when he is supposed to say, "How are you?" At that stage, that is how he knows to say it. What he means is, "How are you?" Social problems may also be there. Some children do not know how to relate with others, and so when they come, they will sit alone. It is your responsibility as a counselor to get them to engage, to get them to mingle with others. So when they try it, they will find themselves going along with others. So children most times will not, those who isolate themselves and do not know how to socialize or relate with others, if you leave them alone, they will continue like that. But you can pair them with others. You can join them with others and say, "This is your friend, so make sure you take care of the person. You go play and do things like that." Then some of them may have emotional problems, maybe from stress or environments that they have at home. They may have emotional problems. They may experience fear. You see them looking tensed all the time. Maybe they have gone through beatings, they have been beaten and things like that, so they will be expressing fear. So when you have such children, you try to find out, listen to them, pay attention, and be able to help them and direct them so that they are able to free themselves. Another responsibility is to improve parent-teacher relationship. Actually, for a parent to take his child to school, it is a trust he has given the school. The child is his own child, but for that period that a parent takes his child and brings to the school, what that parent is trying to say is that from now till the time you are closing, I trust that you can take care of my child. So he drops the child in school. The school authority should know that from the moment that child is dropped, that they become responsible for that child, and that parents and teachers with every personnel in the school, that they are together stakeholders and partners in helping the child. So when a parent drops a child off in school, or when children come to school, every teachers and the school authority is supposed to ensure that the best that's supposed to be given to that child, that the child is exposed to, so that when he leaves school and comes back home, the parents continue. There should be a very healthy relationship between parents and teachers. Sometimes when some parents ask to see their children's teachers and ask them questions, some teachers become tensed. It's not supposed to be. A teacher should feel free and meet a parent and say, "Your child does very well in school, but in the area of writing, I discover that he does not write fast. So please, I want to give you an assignment for your child, because I am a teacher and you are his parent and he comes home to meet you. I want you to make sure that you have a book, a story book at home, that if that child copies a page every day." When you do that, as a teacher, the parents will go home and try to engage the child. It is a need that the teacher has noticed and is coming, and he has mentioned it to the parent, and the parent is not offended. The parent is implementing it at home, so that together they are helping the child. If parents and teachers understand that their role is that of partnership, all in the interest of the child, they will not be at loggerheads. And so the counselor should understand this very well. Sometimes teachers are not aware of this important relationship, neither do parents do know. Sometimes parents come and then they are looking for the teachers, people who teach their children, only to scold them, as if they brought their children to school so that their teachers will perform some magic. No, everybody has a role to play, and that is why the counselor should be able to create this understanding in both parents and teachers, so that the two will be able to work together in harmony in the interest of the child. Another responsibility is general guidance on how to help children. General guidance on how to help children. It's not everybody, it's not every child, it's not every teacher, and it's not every parent that knows how children should be helped. Every child has needs, but children generally have a way their help is packaged. And some people are clueless, some people are very harsh at them, some people are even negligent and do nothing. Children, it is a responsibility of a counselor to be able to guide parents, guide teachers, guide school stakeholders on how children should be helped. For instance, the person that is supposed, a cleaner that tidies the children's toilets in school, is supposed to make sure that that place is always clean. Actually, taking care of the toilet for children is like walking around the clock so long as the children are in school. Sometimes some of the cleaners will clean first thing in the morning. Once they clean the toilet in the morning, they don't go back to check that place till the next morning. It shouldn't be so, because they are children. When they get to the toilet, if it is squat, they wouldn't know how to manage themselves. Their clothes can touch the ground and touch the floor, and if it touches the floor, who knows, the place would have been littered. Children don't go to the toilet without inspection, so they should, those who take care of the toilets for them should know this. They should be politely guided by the counselor, and if that is done, then the children will be healthy, the parents will be happy, the school authority will be proud, and everybody will be happy for it. It is also the responsibility of the counselor to be patient with children and to be patient with everyone. Children are not like adults who will have problem and come to you and tell you that, please, counselor, I am here because I have problem. Children may not operate like that. Children might wait for you to notice that they have problem. You are the one to say they have problem, and you will call them to say, I notice you have this problem, or what is the problem with you, or ask them to explain. Working with children, you need to be very patient. You can't hurry them up. On a normal basis, we don't hurry our clients up, not to talk of children. So you have to wait. They may delay, you ask them questions, they are quiet, like they answer you when they want to answer you. That's how most children talk, depending on the age though. So be aware and be patient with them. You can fix something now and the child can spoil it. Be patient with them. You will need to be patient, but you will guide them. So working with children, it is your responsibility to be patient with them and to be patient with their parents, because sometimes a parent may come and may not ask questions, and just come to school and start ranting. It is the responsibility of the counselor to be patient and take your time when the parent is done to explain politely what you think has happened and the best way to go about it. Very important. Responsibility number 7 is for primary school counselors. That primary school counselors are people of reputable character. Primary school counselors are people of reputable character. Your character should speak. You should be a person that the parents will feel free to let you access their children. A person that from the way you conduct yourself, parents are not scared of letting their children come talk with you. I've said this, recently some students went out for practicum, were sent out for practicum, and some of them came to say that they were rejected from the schools they went. And when I looked at them and the way they were dressed, I said in my mind, if this is how they went to the school, who will accept them? Nobody. From the way you keep your hair cut and your hairdo, it speaks a lot. The way we dress, that is how we are addressed. And so children are delicate. And so when parents release their children to go to school, they don't want to come across somebody who is not looking correct, and then you tell them that is their counselor. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't add up. So counselors are people with straight character, people whose character are not questionable, people who are dependable and reliable, people who are trusted, people who can assist children and also assist their parents to assist them. So please, you can't be anyhow and tell yourself that you are a primary school counselor. It will not work. It will be difficult. That is why you might have heard of instances where some parents will say, please, I don't need counselor for my child. Or if that is the person you call counselor, please, I rather not have. For some, because of the way you conduct yourself and because your character is negative and questionable, they will not even accept you in the school. Like, you keep dreads, some of you keep dreadlocks and all kinds of haircuts and all kinds of hairstyles, and then you go to the school and you want them to accept you for practicum. They will not accept you. If you are there as a primary school counselor and you go to ask that you are here for primary school, in fact, even if they don't have counselor, they will tell you, no, we already have. Why? Because your character can corrupt the good morals in the children. So be very careful how you conduct yourself, ladies and males alike. How you dress is also very important. You don't dress halfway and tell yourself that you are a counselor. What you'll be portraying is a bad character that no parents will want to associate with, and no school will want to parade you as their counselor. So be mindful of this and work on yourselves. The point number 8, which is the last responsibility that I penned down for this class, is that counselors are selfless in relating with children. Counselors are selfless in relating with children. They can go all out, engaging in play activities with children. Yes, they don't take themselves as too big to relate with children. They relate with them. They do what children do. They can run with them, they can play with them, they can assist them, do many things with children. I hear students say that working with children is difficult. Without even working with children for once, they are already complaining. If you are complaining that to work in primary school as a counselor or as a teacher is tedious, then you have a wrong mindset. You need to give yourself a reorientation and be sure that you are there for the children, because you can't work with children if you don't like them. So working with them as a counselor, you need to like them, and as you are working with them, you need to be unconditional in the way you live or you relate with them, whether they are clean or they are dirty, whether they have rich parents or poor parents. Just relate with all of them equally. That is what is expected. So as you do that, a lot is required of a counselor, a lot more responsibilities like being creative and in working with children. So read more to add to this note. I would like to conclude by saying that pupils are an interesting set of learners that any counselor should be able to work with, and counselors should find interesting working with. However, student counselors express fatigue over working with primary school pupils, and it shouldn't be so. This attitude does not allow for smooth deployment of counseling services to intended beneficiaries. Hence, a positive mindset towards primary counseling is a healthier posture to assume. And so I like to encourage you that it is an interesting course. Primary school counseling is an interesting course, and you will need it. It is applicable to many areas. You will need it, even if you don't get to use it as a student counselor in primary school when you go for practicum, or if you go for practicum in primary school. Most of what I've explained are things you can apply even at home with the children you know. So thank you very much for being part of the class. I hope that if you do have any questions, you get them ready, and we'll meet in class to entertain every question that is available.